would like to hear a little bit from yourselves about what you're doing here in the UK. So I'm going to invite the director of the programme, Linda Smith, to come up and say a few words to everybody about programmes. And then of course some of you will speak and let us know about your work, all of your studies and what you're doing here, and how, maybe say something about how the experience has helped you. Okay. So Linda, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you and the center and everyone else who made this visit possible. I think this has been one of the highlights of our trip, visiting this community, and having this wonderful food, and having the opportunity to see the real part of London. So thank you very much for that opportunity. The MLK Scholarship Programme is a program that students are part of when they come to different colleges as undergraduates. And regardless of the career that they're going into, they are being trained to be social justice educators. So they are coming in from their different backgrounds, from their different careers, and they are learning about Martin Luther King, the man, learning how to do social justice. And hopefully we'll learn to continue that and we'll just become part of them as they graduate and go into whatever fields that they pursue. So each year we take them on an educational research trip to learn about how social justice issues are affected all of us and how they're all connected and what we could do as individuals to make sure that we are giving voices to people that opportunity. And just to encourage people to say, we can do this if we all sit together and make those bridges for each other. So our students are expected to do a research proposal on a social justice issue that is near and dear to them. So everyone in the room, they don't have the same proposal, they have many different ones. And so I'm going to ask a couple of them to speak on not only what their research is about, and maybe what they have learned here, or some have traveled before. Last year we went to Ghana, so we tried to go to different countries, to, in the end, have a comparative research proposal that they can use and to go on to grad and professional school. I'd also like to acknowledge the other faculty and staff that are here with us today, and they are our mentors and the ones who shape our students, Dr. Thomas Saunders, Dr. Sharon Williams, and Dr. Liz House. So they can tell you a little bit more about what happens on the academic side, and I'm on the other side, the student service side, providing enrichment programs and travel opportunities for it to be more of a holistic. So I believe that Amanda volunteered.
Seeing me.
I mean, you look at her speak.
Just go up there. Just go up.
Right now.
No, she's
Speak about what her case study is and what she's learned since
Hello everyone, thank you for inviting us today. I really enjoyed my stay. The food was great and learning about your experiences was awesome in your work. My name is Amanda again. I'm a sophomore at Ithaca College. I'm studying politics and psychology in hopes of going to law school after I graduate. My research project is on the inaccessibility of education in the United Kingdom. From my research, I have found that depending on the community you live, you get a certain quality of education versus other communities, which is based on the wealth that is rooted in that community. So everyone is getting a different educational experience by factors that are out of their control. So far, I've realized on this trip is that there's a lot of passion. There's a lot of people working in London to make it a better place, and solidarity is one of the most important things that ultimately further these causes And that's something that I'm going to take back with me, because we're all different as a collective group, and we all can come together regardless of our differences to actualize our potential to becoming the next educators of our generation, and showing that social justice does matter, and regardless of our age, our wealth, who we are as people, we can make a difference.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Taehoon Kim, and I am a sophomore physical therapy major with a minor in Black Studies. And so my proposal is about how there are institutional forms of sexism in the education system in the UK, and how it renders the progression of women in the professional field stagnant. And I found it very interesting today that we have, in the UK, they have programs such as these, because a lot of the reasons why girls in primary and secondary school are unable to progress professionally has to deal with levels of confidence and, I guess, willingness to engage and take risks. But programs such as these really empower young women, especially when I was watching the footage of women dressed up confidently, dancing and running down. It really felt like they were proud of what they're doing. It empowered them to show who they are without, being wary of society's, I guess, views. And, all the time society imposes the idealistic girl or woman, and it's this, I guess, docile, nice homemaker who supports the husband. But when I see, dresses like these that show confidence and, that really show the woman figure for what it is, and doesn't sexualize it, but shows just the true beauty of, I guess, fashion and what femininity. It's really empowering, and I just want to say that it was really inspirational to see that programs such as these exist to empower not just women but young people in general, because I think at the end of the day that's what it's about. I think it's about showing anybody that anything's possible, and through these programs where communities are able to get together and empower these young I guess these future leaders of the UK, I think is really inspirational. So I just want to thank you for that.
Good afternoon. Speaking of fashion, I just want to quickly thank Ms. Leah Munoz for introducing me to this fantastic shawl. My name is Jeffrey Stewart. I am a second-year student at Ithaca College, and I study music performance. And I also find myself as part of the Martin Luther King Scholar Program. And amongst other things, we hold ourselves to various standards. Just yesterday, I was talking to Dr. Sean Eversley Bradwell, who told me that if we're going to call ourselves Martin Luther King Scholars, we have a 3.3 GPA that we're expected to uphold. And he told me, if we can't keep that up, then we might as well just call ourselves Martin Luther King students or Martin Luther King aspirers. So just one of the many requirements that we hold ourselves to, that academic standing. Now, my research here is that I have a minor in Spanish at Ithaca College, and I'm very interested. I've become recently very enthusiastic about various languages and the role that language barriers play in regards to social justice and various inequalities that can come with not knowing the dominant language of the society, in this case English. And I've been very fortunate to indeed have an opportunity to go. When we were in the Brixton Market, I had an opportunity along with my colleague here, Mr. Victor Lopez Carmen, to go into a restaurant which is Colombian and speak with not only some of the customers but with the owner of the restaurant and about her experiences. She doesn't know English at all. And we spoke with her about her experiences as far as being in London and the factors that not knowing English has had on her and her daughter. She has one daughter. And she told me that, you know, you can make it, but there are obviously some limits. And I had a fantastic opportunity to speak with a man this morning in the hotel. The man who makes the omelets is from Spain and knows, of course I spoke to him, and he knows English, yet his wife knows extremely little. Now, when it comes to access of healthcare, normally hospitals in London, I was told that upon request, the translator is available, but in other times he has had to either accompany her because he knows more English than she does, or get someone else who knows English enough to be able to stay in contact with doctors, because when it comes to surgeries and various intricacies, you know, little knowledge of English isn't going to help you much. So what I'm personally about is this pursuing as a lifelong endeavor now that this trip, in particular, I've always been interested in Latino culture and Spanish. However, upon visiting the School of Oriental African Studies, I now have a new enthusiasm for Asian, South Asian, and Western Asian language and culture. So it's my sincere hope that I can get into that language, and you know, before my days are over. So I really want to continue as far as language and social injustice, because there's always something related as far as if you're not able to communicate with the mainstream, then there's something that you're missing out on. You know what I'm saying? So it's about bridging that gap and seeing, not necessarily making those people learn the dominant language, but just finding a way to have the two coexist peacefully. I thank you for your time here today.
Scholar, we have 3 sophomores, and we're trying to not put the seniors on notice, but I'd like for a senior to come up and talk about their research and their experience as well. And I'm happy to pick on somebody, and my mind wants to pick on Candace King. So Candace, would you be willing to do that for us, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Candace King. I'm a senior journalism major and politics and honors minor, and I'm also a senior in my 4th year in the MLK Scholarship Programme, which has been an absolute joy and privilege to be in, just because of the not only academic impact it has had on my life, but also the personal and also philosophical impact it has had on my journey. And so far in my time here in London, I have been conducting research on media representation of Black British women, and it's ranging from print to television, because as a journalism major, I understand that I will be producing media, but I also recognize that the media that I produce also has an impact on the people that consume it. And sometimes we kind of consume television not necessarily being consciously aware of the messages that it sends. And I had a privilege to go to Ecuador and also to Accra, Ghana, to kind of study a little bit of how it affects Black women in particular in these communities. So far, during my time here in London, I spoke with one young woman who told me that sometimes the images of Black British women in the media can tend to render them invisible, but also hyper-visible in regards to their sexuality. And she also told me that images kind of reflect this sort of Eurocentric ideal. So she told me that you would never really find in Black British women with an afro, that they always had, you know, sort of a weave or pressed hair. And I found that to be very interesting, just because a similar trend is also in US media to this day. And so that's something that I'm kind of looking into, and also just going forward for me, not just here in London, but also taking it with me back to the US, how we can change that image so that it can send a better message to not only the people that consume media, but also the ones that will produce it as well, such as myself.
Dr. Sharon Williams, I have a 10-year affiliation with the MLK Scholarship Program. It's been one of the absolute joys of my time at Ithaca College. I began soon after with the blessing of Dr. Saunders, who recruited me to do some work for them, and I've been involved ever since. I teach one of the seminars along with Dr. House and some other of our faculty. There are 6 faculty at Ithaca College who do work, and a couple of us travel, and we do a first-year seminar and a grad level seminar. So I can tell you briefly why I'm involved with the program and what joy it brings to me, particularly work with such a talented group of young folks who are passionate, much like we saw here today, about changing the world. And sometimes in very large ways, but as we know, one person at a time is usually the way in which it's done. So I so appreciate that. I consider myself to be somewhat of a community activist, much more of an academic scholar, that I'm involved in my community. My wife is the president of one of our local community centers, which operates just like this. So this feels like home to me, so thank you for opening your space here. And what I do know is that the only way in which we make our communities better is by working. And so one of my favorite talks that I've given, I know that sounds horrible, but one of the favorite talks that I've given was right after the election of President Barack Obama. And folks may know that he had his famed book called The Audacity of Hope. And I told folks that I'm not hopeful. I called my talk The Audacity of Work. That I'm only hopeful in the direct amount of work that I'm willing to do. And so if I don't do work, then I can't be hopeful. But if I do work, then I'm hopeful. And so what we try to instill in our scholars to have a particular lens, not that we all think alike, but that we're all committed to making the world a better place. We try to look at that both in terms of an academic idea, but much more in terms of interpersonal and social as well. And realizing that every major change in the world has happened, one, because of young people, not because of old folks like myself, right? But young folks make the world change, and that we can actually create the world that we want to exist. So I'm not interested in what the world is. I'm interested in making the world what I want it to be. And these folks give me hope to make that happen. They do such great work. So let me just echo one more thing. That was one of the best meals I've had. So my kudos to the chefs for doing that. And again, thank you so much for such generous hospitality and such a warm invitation to your place today. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we're going to look at the video now. Is this the one from the... No, we don't know yet. Master of ceremony,